Hi, it's Dave here at Legends Tutorial, and we're doing the interview today. Maybe the very first commentary in the world for the interview. Uh, Nice to see the old Columbia logo there. I don't know why, I've always got like a real soft spot for films that start off with an old logo, like how Argo started off with the old slash Warner Brothers logo. So it's kind of cool to see that logo. There's a couple of things that and obviously everybody knows about this film at the moment. But a couple of things about the interview that really sort of struck me that is almost like the old sort of always happening, like sort of this almost like a cycle. It just keeps going and going and going. But when a film gets banned or withdrawn, instantly makes it more exciting. And and there's an extra component built into this film that this film was meant to be released on Christmas Day, but for some reason, films that should come out on Christmas Day, because being from the UK, our cinemas close on Christmas Eve and open again on Boxing Day. But over the years, I've noticed, say, things like the original, that wasn't meant to be a Freudian slip, the J.J. Abrams version of Star Trek, the remake of The Alamo, the Black Christmas remake, really a lot of remakes. Any film that's supposed to come out on Christmas Day always seems to either flop or end up needing reshoots, or there's some kind of convoluted thing. They never just come out and sort of exist. They're always like, oh, they got pulled for, because like say there was something wrong with the film, or one of my cats is meowing. I don't know if you can hear them there. But yeah, there's always some kind of controversy surrounding it, and then, like I say, with this film, obviously it was controversy times by times by 9/11. No, I'm just kidding. That's a terrible Team America joke. But what's funny, I should not do a commentary when I've got a massive cold. I should say. I'm just having a bit of Dr Pepper there. Uh, But again, what was really funny about this film, because again, this is that classic thing where when a film sort of does get quote unquote banned, like I had no real desire to see this film, and in fact, I told barely was on my radar. Radar really seems weird saying radar with a film that's got a film that's about the military and stuff, but yeah, and so it's one of those things where uh, I didn't realise as well until I watched this film, because a few years ago Seth Rogen had done the Green Hornet, and I kind of always forget how much I like Seth Rogen. And then the thing that really struck me, because yeah, I was so cheap in a supermarket the other day. I thought, oh, because I did enjoy the interview, I brought Green Hornet, and I was like, oh yeah, James Franco's in it. And then the guy that plays Kato in it did songs for the soundtrack to this movie. And what I thought was interesting, though, I didn't realise that a lot of actors and directors do this, but especially comedians seem to do it, like Adam Sandler or Kevin Smith, but seem to work with the same people over and over again. And I didn't realise, like, Seth Rogen and James Franco had been in about 5 films together. I thought they'd done like this and maybe one other thing, and it was like, just like going through their IMDb page, it was like, oh, they've done this, and oh, they've done that. What's really cool about this as well, talk about comedy, but Eminem has got a really, really good sense of humour. I always forget that, like, because I like a lot of different kinds of music, but say some metal bands. Although to be fair, a lot of metal bands have got quite a good sense of humour, but some metal bands seem to take themselves way too serious. Like all the songs are about dead serious subjects, things like that. And like a lot of rap artists, they're always like, sort of saying like how hard they are and how tough they are. And I do quite like about Eminem, he's one of the few rappers where he does seem to really take the piss out of himself, or he'll do something that I say. I mean, and I'm not just playing safe here, like by like not wanting mentioning names, but I can't imagine very many other rappers that and again, not that there's nothing wrong with it, but I can't imagine there's not many rappers who'd say they were gay when if they weren't, because in rap music, I should imagine, that's quite good bait for being slagged off by like millions of artists and people all around the world. So that and like one thing I didn't realise about Eminem that really did surprise me. If you ever see pictures of Eminem when he was a kid, and he's like, look proper like geeky and nerdy. And I know you can say that like about about a lot of like music stars or actors. They're never as cool as they were, on stage and things like that. But it's kind of nice to see like somebody who's like a comic book nerd or whatever being like this really cool hip hop guy. And especially being like a geeky white person, it's kind of cool to see that you can make that evolution. There's some amazing lines in this, and this is another thing about this film though that I did genuinely sort of think was worthy of mention, was the fact that like I thought it'd be a bit like the Saw movies where it was like dare you see it, dare you see it and live, but the Saw movies have actually got some merit to them. Like they've got some kind of uh, makes you kind of think, or the effects were cool, or good situations, or half decent acting. And it's like this movie, I thought it would just be air quotes controversial storyline, but it genuinely is funny. And there's some bits that like I'll probably be talking about for years and years to come, providing that some massive nuclear war because of this film, touch wood. But like like that the line in a minute when about it says they ate us because they ain't us, and then when Seth Rogen's like they ate us because we're anus, and it's like, but even the ate us because they ain't us is a great line. And then the joke about having the most powerful ecstasy they've ever had, and then the bit where and like I said, I've only seen this film like once, properly. The bit where it's like, oh, there's something coming towards me. What is it? It looks like somebody on all fours. It's a dog. It's a orange stripy dog, and it turns out to be like a tiger. And that's one thing I think is quite cool about say films like this. And there's a lot of films that I think people think, oh, well, another recent example is A Million Ways to Die in the West. I've heard a few people say, "Oh, it's not very funny, and it's like a sort of watered down Blazing Saddles," but that's got such great gags in it, like about when the one part where and it says Seth Green, Seth MacFarlane says about he can't afford a mustache, and it's like what mustache, and then the rumours of somebody smiling in a photograph. Just great concepts, and I think that when you think about how many comedy films there is, how many comedy programs, and how many internet comedians, Vines, and Instagrams, and all these people doing comedy, Twitter accounts, and things like that. How much comedy there is out there now, and how much history of comedy there's been just in literature and music and movies and everything. That you can still see jokes where you go, wow, that's a really interesting way of coming at it, and a really sort of good way of like analysing. So I know that the worst thing you can do is if you find something funny, try and analyse why it's funny, because it's like trying to analyse a magic trick. It's like all you're doing is ruining it for yourself. But there is something I kind of do like watching modern comedy films, because there's still, like it's always this thing. Like sometimes I feel like I've got rose tinted glasses for, what stuff good years ago, like people like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, and I know Eddie Murphy's still going, but like Bill Hicks, but there's still so many great comedy things like Funny or Die. It's such a great comedy website, and like it's like like the sketch with Ralph Macchio. Recently over Christmas, they've done this thing where how to talk to your parents over Christmas, and like way of diffusing arguments and things like that. And, Funny or Die, they have sketches up every other day, so it's like, and some of them are really genius as well. Some of them, like there's one, what's it called? I think it's called Working Hours or something like that. But they did this thing about this office Christmas party, and it was so inspired, because you think it's going to go one way, and it just went completely the other. But not like in just let's subvert it for subverted sake. It was like I was not expecting that. It was just like really, and then there was another sketch as well. It was Reginald Val Johnson from Die Hard, and there was this guy who thought he was Bruce Willis in Die Hard, and he was hallucinating seeing Reginald Val Johnson, and you just because now everything is like, again, this is nothing new as well, but because things are so meta nowadays, and everybody knows film culture, and everybody knows little references, and everybody knows little parts of everything. And again, I guess it's a bit like this, where a lot like Rob Lowe, and like people like Rob Lowe, I feel like he's been in everything my entire life. Like used to things like from St. Elmo's Fire, right through to like Austin Powers, and and so it's just this kind of cool thing that like I think there's like a group of people now, like a lot of people in like say the 20s and 30s, that kind of that minimum age bracket, anything above that I think have grown up with like VHS and DVD and films being repeated all the time, that they can't help but sort of know these people, and kind of, even if they're sort of not 100% sure what films they've been in, they'll like, let's like Rob Lowe, they'll go, yeah, I know who he is. Or like say James Franco, like I kind of forget, like sometimes he's in like Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Oh yeah, he's in that. And then like say Seth Rogen was in Green Hornet and stuff. It's like, it's all these things built into it. It's so good. Oh, that's funny though, those lines there. He looks so much like the lines from Ghostbusters. And I know this is like a Columbia film, and I just always read into stuff that isn't really there. But I wonder if those were the lines from Ghostbusters, because they look really similar. What was really funny about this though, because before it sort of was released to cinemas and sort of on demand and all that kind of stuff, I thought it was going to be one of these films where I never actually get to see, and a bit like something like say London After Midnight or something like that, but where something can be, because you can understand say when some of these really early lost silent movies just for whatever reason get accidentally destroyed or disappear, but when things are so much in the mainstream, so much sort of uh, or so sort of current, that to think there's a film that might not have, because I think it had been reviewed before Sony made the decision to sort of withdraw it, but it's one of those things where I don't know, I don't think it had, anybody had like any DVDs were knocking around like on eBay or anything like that, or so it was one of those films where I just thought, wow, will there be a film in my lifetime where it just literally just vanishes? But what is funny about this film as well, though, because I do genuinely think that it's very funny, and it's a really again, it is what it is. But like because like my political knowledge is not the best. It is interesting to sort of how at first they sort of subverted how they make Kim Jong-un seem like a nice guy, and that's kind of funny to me. Is that excuse me, is that like you know just say he was like this really nice guy, and like he's got this reputation of being like a complete diff. But again, it's always that thing where, because I'll be the first to admit that I don't really understand much about politics, but in this day and age with things like the UN and how like most democratic countries, one way or another, that's a very Ghostbusters type shot as well, where when Ray and Winston were in Ecto One talking about the end of the world, that's very similar. And again, I don't think this is like reading something into it that I don't know. That, like sometimes, like there's certain things that Warner Brothers films always do, like especially the 70s, 80s Warner Brothers films. No matter who they were directed by or who they were sort of made by, always kind of had that Warner Brothers vibe about them. Like there'd be like a helicopter shot pulling away as the credits came on and things like that. And I always kind of go, oh, that's a Warner Brothers thing. And then there's certain things like that. Oh, sorry about that. There's a bit of a, I don't know if there's be a bit of a glitch there with the sound, but what's always funny about stuff like this though as well, because it's like this thing, I've noticed this, like, talking about like modern comedy sort of versus old comedy. I've noticed this really interesting thing sort of creeping into sort of like modern comedy, which I think is really weird, where the people will do something that was like so old fashioned, like a bit of a stupid accent, or oh, what foreign is this? And then you think, wow, that's a bit 70s. And then they sort of, at the very last minute, either just kind of drop it, or they'll just sort of say, oh, it's kind of almost like, oh no, we're just doing it ironically. And it's like when I was a kid growing up, it was like, basically, you know, a lot of comedians were just like, ooh, aren't foreigners funny? And you're like, well, that's not really much of a joke. And then it's like, when it creeps into newer comedy, and I've got to admit, sometimes I can't help but laugh at like a stupid accent or something, or anytime I do an impression, it's I have to stop doing it after about 2 seconds because it comes across as being like, oh, but it's like I don't know, it just comes across as being, yeah, I can't believe that kind of stuff's still knocking around, like, you know. Although what is kind of cool, having said this now, it's kind of nice to see like scenes like this where, you know, everybody's just like can't we all just like go along, like kind of thing, and everybody's just, you know. Lizzy's again, I think it's that thing like where, like, I know it's like, you know, it's like what, you know, it's not exactly rocket science, but like this thing where like people are the same all over the world. I mean, good and bad, you know, it's like, you know, most people just like, you know, having a laugh, having a beer, playing video games, you know. It's like, it's nice to, you know, you see in films that like, you know, just seeing the, yeah, but it's kind of the same. That's pretty cool there. That's probably CG, but that looks pretty good, that little bug insect creature. Again, it's one of those things where I wish I knew more about like sort of politics and things like that. But like, why why is that red star kind of thing always associated with like communism and sort of, you know, sort of political states that are like a little bit mental? I think she may have been in another Seth Rogen film. I was like, just Skype. Even that though as well, that they actually do drop a bottle of water down for him. I know it's really kind of inconsequential because basically left him to die in a lot of ways, but it's like, yeah, that's quite sweet. I really like James Franco's character in this though. He's kind of such like hyper reality, as if like almost like the Joker. Actually, he's got the Joker colours on there. What is weird though as well is because like I know it's just like sort of burying my head in the sand kind of thing and stuff like that. But sometimes like unless I watch movies, you know, we're watching like things like War Games and like, you know, Superman 4 or Silent Voice, I think it's called. As that, you know, you think, oh yeah, nuclear missiles. But I sometimes forget that nuclear missiles are a real thing, and it's kind of like, what? Why? Like, why does any country kind of need them? Like, it's like, it's just, I guess it's the threat, right? But even so, Samuel's Ganji. I think that's his name. What I really do like as well about stuff like this, like people who've got really good comic chemistry, and sometimes it really does seem like it's so close to being like a deleted scene or an outtake because there's Robin. Um, but yeah, because he's so close to like look like they genuinely laugh, and it's not like that they're not like. And I'm not saying they're breaking character or like say it's like a goof necessarily, but I do kind of like that when people do genuinely seem like they're really amused by what the other person's saying to them. What's really funny as well because the guy playing King Jong-un, Randall Park, was born in 1974, and I'm always kind of slightly obsessed with, like, say, people who were born on my birthday. Not my birthday, but my birth year. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. It just kind of instantly, like, struck a chord. I was like, I was born in 1974. Even that's a funny line, though, that, like, when he says, peanut butter and gels. They hate us because they hate us because they are us. I mean, even that's a brilliant little addition to that. Gotta admit, when I very first saw this, I know it's a cliche to I laugh out loud, but this genuinely got me. Ecstasy I've ever. Oh my god. And what's really funny though, because I love a good montage no matter what, especially if it's a tooling up or training montage, but there's something quite funny about the party montage. To be fair, it's a lot shorter than I remember it being. It'd be really interesting as well to see after this, like what the sort of main sort of directors, writers, sort of is it Amy Pascal who runs Columbia at the moment to see where they go from this. Like, 'cause that's always an interesting thing as well. I think when sometimes you check somebody's IMDb page, and even if you just check one randomly and just seeing, oh well, they only made two films and never did anything else ever again, or just when somebody has had a film that like really does something spectacular, like plots really badly or causes some kind of controversy or something, there it is really interesting to sort of see that sometimes they bounce straight back and it's working constantly, and then sometimes it's like, wow, that person just disappeared completely off the radar. I do find it really fascinating that like when you do check people's sort of IMDb page, and even something stupid like say uh, Barney the dog from Gremlins did two films, and that's more than say some human actors do. It's kind of like funny, like it's just interesting. What I mean. this kind of almost reminded me of like a sort of Two Ronnie sketch, or like when they sort of kind of try to finish off her next line. What I do find it fascinating as well, though, is like I say, I'm such a slob and I very rarely like have a shave and stuff like that. But like how much sort of like when James Franco's pulling like a stupid face, or when Seth Rogen like worked out for sort of Green Hornet, how much things like posture and clothes and that completely change you. Because like you look at sort of Seth Rogen in say Green Hornet, and he does kind of got that like superhero sort of chiseled vibe, and then sometimes you see him some things and like you think, oh, is that the same guy? And like James Franco, when I think about him in like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and like in this, he's just like wacky guy. Oh, excuse me, like gas. the the glasses just come right off. And that's another thing as well. Like I say, I'm not like any political expert by any stretch of the imagination, but they always show you in movies, and I'm pretty sure they're the real locations as well. But they always show you where like things like this Pentagon is, or the CIA, or MI6, or something, and it's like, should should the general public know where these things are? Because I know, like like nowadays, there's security cameras and and things, but and there'll be security guards watching these places, but like, doesn't secret agent stuff be like secrets? But I guess they know what they're doing, right? He was right. The glasses were fake. This is so brilliant though as well, where when he says about when they go to the secret tunnel on the res as well. I mean, I know like it's so easy to just sort of know how the movie ends if you're writing it and just sort of go back to the middle and just put in there what happens at the end. But I kind of like, because he's obviously just his character just rambling and saying all these like, oh, I do this, and basically that's what happens at the end of the film. Kind of almost, I love that bit in Shaun of the Dead where at the start where they're saying, oh, well, I've Bloody Marys and shoot us at the bars and all this, and it all kind of comes true. One thing as well that I really loved about this film, and I kind of love it when like really silly things like this happen. But like, as far as I know, this is the highest rated movie on the Internet Movie Database, and I kind of like the fact that it's barely been out like a week. It's like came out like December 25th, and it's only January the 2nd as a record this commentary 2015, and it's like it's the highest rated movie, like I say, on Internet Movie Database. It's already grossed like $20 million, like I think on demand, and I don't know how much it's made from ticket sales and stuff, but like I kind of love that, like when because like that's one thing about like the internet modern age, that like you will occasionally get people backtracking and saying stuff that they won't really do, like, oh yeah, I'll go see Grindhouse, or oh yeah, make steaks on a plane, like a R-rated film, and then nobody goes see these films. But I do kind of like where something like The Interview, where it creates this genuine groundswell of like, let's say people rating it 10 on IMDb, or let's say some simple as meaning in this commentary, or I do kind of like that it's like it instantly builds up on itself. But one thing I thought though, because obviously it's only came out at Christmas, but talking about things like say London After Midnight and things like that, I do like the fact though that like obviously now it's been released digitally, so there'll be millions and millions of copies of this all around the world and stuff. But I do kind of like that. Say if anybody has like an original poster for it or something like that, that could be quite cool, because like it's one of those things where it's like. Like that'll be so sort of 10, 20 years from now, be like, oh wow. This seems like they would get it wrong every single time. But because he's holding his hand now, like I'm a little tiny bit of a germaphobe sometimes. I don't know, nowhere near as bad as it used to be, but that's exactly what I would be like if I was trying to do something like that. I would be like holding my hand way in in front of me. But again, I think I must have said this before, but one thing I do kind of like about stuff like this is that, like, I think most people like to think they'd be like a good, James Bond or Jack Ryan or Jason Bourne or any of those J characters, really. Um, but this is I kind of like stuff like this because I do like kind of like my heroes to be like kind of dead suave, dead sophisticated, and I watch films to sort of what I could be like if I was like a person with coordination and a brain. But there's something kind of endearing about watching, say, people that are like sort of like what it would almost be like if you just got a couple of normal guys to just be secret agents, like just be like so sort of out of the depth and doing stupid stuff. And even things like that like say because like I say I don't sort of follow politics and stuff like that, but in this day and age, like you think there's actually people, something coming saying, oh, they don't pee or poop, and even if one person believes that, it's like what? This bit's incredible. When it says he's gonna give you something with his hand. It's like they're just like, let's do a funny Asian voice, and but like I don't know, is that racist? Maybe. That's going to become like a classic scene, a classic line from this movie. There's some really good. Again, like how comedy doesn't get sort of the respect it deserves. Most people just think, oh yeah, comedy, as if it just like magically appears out of thin air and things like that. But there's something kind of like this film's really well put together. The production design, the costumes, and just like the camera just panned across the runway. But I'll point them out as they come on, if I can remember. But there's a couple of genuinely cool, like really arty shots of Korea. Obviously, it wasn't filmed in Korea. I don't think it was. That's one good thing as well. I really love how the subtitles are actually on this print, because that's one thing about modern movies that years ago I know you would get like bastardized 4:3 prints, and sometimes that like say they didn't really treat movies with respect years ago. But one thing about digital movies is that, say, especially if you watch one like DVD or Blu-ray, and the subtitles are generated from the machine itself, I think it can look a bit computery and take you out of it a little bit. But I really love it when like the subtitles are actually on the print. That look really cool. This is well, what's really good about this, because I assume anybody listening to this commentary has seen the film first before listening to this commentary, so it's like, even though it is a spoiler. But I love how like that you see this shop later on. It's just a fake shop, and many true words selling a joke. But that fat kid there, I saw a really funny meme the other day where it said something like, hold on here. I thought I'd stop me sound recording. Then I must just accidentally press something. But yeah, I saw a really funny meme where it said something like, I thought it was bad being the only fat kid in my school. Imagine being the only fat person in your country, Kim Jong-un. And it's like, that is kind of weird if you think like that. It's like, it's a terrible thing, really, but it just kind of made me laugh. And I saw a really funny meme. I think it's definitely worthy of a mention. But it was. It said something like, "Welcome, Sony Pictures' new CEO, Kim Jong-un." And when the film had got withdrawn, and somebody said something like, "He's cast himself in the new Sinister Six movie," and I just thought, again, it's like, really bad. All this controversy in this film. Well, not, it should never have caused controversy in the first place. But you think that like Barack Obama will get involved with this and stuff like, we should never be in a situation where this ever got to happen. But I think sometimes though, so I don't mind jokes about anything, so it's like one of these things where it's like that. I think they were really funny gags that like King John has suddenly become the head of Sony Pictures. I thought that was kind of cool. Even this is incredible though, the way that like, because he took this fabulous bag with him, it kind of instantly cocked up their plan as soon as they get into like North Korea. I mean, I know any excuse to mention one of my favourite films, Firefox, but it just kind of reminded me of the bit where they search through his bag and they get the radio and take it apart, which he needs to finish his mission. And I always think, like, if I was in that situation and someone was checking through some of my secret agent stuff, I'd be like, oh, and it's just like there, it's like instantly like like I said 5 10 minutes ago that I prefer my heroes to be really cool and suave and sophisticated, but there was something quite endearing about just seeing people that were like, no. I like this guy just as well, like here, but it's as if it's scanning for bugs. Kind of reminds me of Roger Moore had a thing in Live and Let Die that did the same thing. Yeah, I know I did mention it again, just repeating myself, but like this film does look really good, and like struggling to think of a comedy film that actually looks better, to be honest. Presumably, as much as it's probably not my go-to genre as such. I normally gravitate towards horror, sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of stuff. But most comedies, I feel like, are very matter-of-factly put together. And this is pretty, this is pretty tight. This is all edited, and the production design. Even though when he says, "I'll cherish this," there's a line in Team America where one of the characters says, "I'll cherish our friendship," and it just instantly put me in mind of that. But that's another thing, though, where I don't understand why Team America came out. It was released all around the world, as far as I know. It was really successful. Everybody thinks it's amazing. And then this film, before it even got released, it was like the world's most controversial film, and it's like, well, yeah, but why? Was Team America came out okay? This one didn't. Like I said before as well, I think there's something about this where I think any kid who's ever played like Army or anything like that, that like you can't help but refer back to like this is kind of cruel to her. Like, and it's like a James Bond thing. Oh man, this is incredible. It's a big dog. It's Clifford sized. Big red dog. It looks red on the radar too. This night vision goggles thing. That's brilliant. What a great concept. You got fun? That's kind of interesting though they did that, because on the one hand, that tiger looks real, then again on the other, it looks kind of a bit fake. The package killed the tiger. Oh, he's got to secure the package. Even this is a great, like, again, it's, you know, it's easy to retroactively write something or change something, but I do think it's funny when James Franco sees it later on and he's like, I thought it was the ball. It's like this huge thing. I don't know how many times over the years I've heard somebody say American in that accent, or in an accent, I should say. Two doses in case you fuck up again. That's a funny joke as well. I mean, that's one thing about this film where I think there's just such. I mean, that's just such a great line. Literally a line of dialogue. that's something really good as well. I feel that, like, again, doesn't really get enough sort of respect as the way that, like, things get focus pulled in, sort of, like, so people just watch movies, and there's, like, especially comedy movies or silly movies where they'll just see, some great widescreen shots or some great camera move, and just go, yeah. Again, that, like, Pakistan house had a flashing blue light on it, like, everything in films has to beep or flash. Excuse me. Interesting, it's been nearly 50 minutes till King Jong-un came into it. This guy was in other he's in Neighbours with Seth Rogen as well. I think he might be knocked up as well. Just checking the IMDb. What is always really interesting as well, like that when he just said, like, I don't know what it is, I don't know, like, there's certain phrases, but, like, when he said grocery store, it's like, do grocery stores still exist? Like, I sometimes, like, feel like I haven't seen just a grocery store for ages. Does that tank still work? I don't know if that's the line. But this is one thing as well, like I say again, many a true words said in a joke, right? But I do really think that, like then when the music comes on and he's like embarrassed by it, as I say, oh, it's not me, it's my wife. I do really feel a lot of people are like that there. I almost have said this on other commentaries, but don't get me wrong, I think some people are genuinely into, like, really aggressive music or, like, quote unquote hard music. But I think a lot of people do like, say, Let It Go from Frozen or something like that, or the Footloose soundtrack or something. But I'll be really frightened to admit it in case they have the piss taken out of them. And I do think that is a really sort of. It has been referenced a few times. I think in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I think there's one part in there where they put, like, a cassette in a car and it's like heart and stuff. And I think, like, I think a few people have observed it, but excuse me, Dr. Pepper kicking him. Nice to drink an American drink, guys, while I'm watching this. It's American, right? Texas or something? Oh, I'm looking at the can. Like, it says made in Great Britain, but it's not. The origins. It's not oranges, I think it's somewhere else. No, my joke. Anyway, yeah, but I think a lot of people sometimes, like, they would never dare admit to liking Flashdance, in case people, thought they were a bit fruity or something. But, it's like, I did think this was interesting, though, and again, kind of spoilers, but I did think at this point in this film it would have been quite funny if King Jong-un would have just been, like, just a nice bloke, because that would have really sort of, I feel like, people wouldn't have been expecting that, but I guess it wouldn't have been much of a payoff, right? again, talking about like things that like always get like a kick out of seeing, just certain things that always just, no pun intended, punch my buttons. But like there a button under a piece of plastic that you have to lift a piece of plastic up to press the button to make it do something. I always love that. It's like the same with somebody where something needs two keys and the keys have to be turned simultaneously. It's like, always like, oh, that's cool. I don't know if this is true. I'm sure I read this somewhere that King Jong-il was actually a massive film fan and used to like. I think he said his favourite film was Friday the 13th, which was just fascinating for all different kinds of reasons. It'd be so great if it was the remake. I was thinking about it, passed away by then. They despise us because they hate us. What is funny as well, like again, it's that thing of like, say, I do think this is something as well where it kind of like, again, it's like a comedy film, but like where the, is it true your dad said margaritas were gay? And again, I think there's this thing where I think, like I say, it is sort of slowly sort of being sort of thankfully discredited, but like, oh, you can't do that because it's gay, or you can't do it. It's like, who are these people that like are so sort of homophobic that like anything that's not like, you know, walking over their chainsaw and saying the F words, it's like, oh, you can't do that, it's a bit gay. Like, I know it's only a comedy film, but I feel like it's a, you know, an interesting observation. Oops. Almost like your classic sort of, 80s R-rated comedy moment there, just some gratuitous boob shot. what is really funny though as well, because there's that thing of like, again, just that thing of that guy because he's accidentally had the poison. You think, oh my god, that guy's gonna die, and they're gonna be there when that guy dies, and it's kind of like it all just like kicks off. Even this is a good little sequence where they sort of try and where Seth Rogen's trying to get James Franco's attention. He's like kind of nodding and gesturing, and he's just not going it at all till like the last minute. I always think it's interesting as well because I think like seeing the trailers and it's saying like Sony soundtrack released on I think it's Watergate Records it might be, but that's again this is one thing where I talk about the posters might be collectible, but I think this might be one of them films where any kind of little like I don't think there'll be much merchandise because it's just a film that really lends itself to it. Although if you could get figures of these characters like a Kim Jong-un figure, that'd be kind of incredible. But I think any little tiny bits of merchandise or ticket stubs will be really cool for this movie. I thought that was really good as well when Sony, I guess Sony were backed into a corner knowing situation really, but I did kind of like when Alamo Draftos were like, yeah, we'll have it on at our cinemas. I thought that was really good. Even that, they're talking about films that like sort of get banned or withdrawn or whatever. But like say that just that gore shot there, there's probably more gore in this last 5 seconds than there has been in the whole of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 or Halloween. I know Halloween didn't get banned, but I think James Franco does take fashion. Well, Dave Scarlock does take fashion risks. Look at that scarf. Again, that must be something about this film where, to be fair, I know they say his name about 100 times in this film, but there's literally films that I've grown up with where I can barely remember the character names. I've seen this film once in a little bit, and it's like, yeah, I can sort of. Weirdly, I don't know who Boromir is either. Then again, I've barely seen any of the Lord of the Rings films. That is kind of ironic if I think about it, that I've seen the interview all the way through, and I'm barely sure if I've seen any of the Lord of the Rings films. Sorry, I keep burping. Even though as well, that's kind of a cool thing where something as simple as like a handshake that like just when you see it in the context of this movie, it's just like what's funny. I've probably said this before as well on a million commentaries, but one thing I've noticed, say, if you notice, say, some people that don't really wash their hands when they've been in the toilet, like say, probably only men notice this when they go in public toilets and you see somebody just walk straight out after not. But then they instantly just walk out and shake somebody's hand. You're like, it's like the scene's like, no. Oh. Like that is one of those shots where I think I saw a screen grab of it somewhere, and somebody said about how legitimately good these shots were. And you're like, yeah, wow, that's kind of cool. And again, it's not one of these things where sort of what do you know? This film's made by professional filmmakers. It's going to look good, but they do generally look very arty in like a kind of a pretentious way. But they do look really cool. We got fun and games. That's what. See what he did there. And even that though as well, like this film, it's got smoking in it as well. And I know, like, so like a broken record, sort of always saying, oh, there's certain things in films where they're not deal breakers by any stretch of the imagination, and they're not sort of the end of the world. These things aren't included, but I think something just simple as a character smoking is it's that extra sort of level of real filmmaking because there's so many films there now where you think a character in the situation, especially if it's like a period piece, will be you think that person will be smoking like a train kind of thing, and there's it's like say in Captain America, the first Captain America movie by Marvel, and it was like they showed the World War Two footage and it's like one person smoking like way in the background. You're like it's like really this pub would be packed with people smoking, or like the new James Bond film or something, and you'll see like one character if you're lucky smoking when you think like the character of Bond just chain smoker like, or in the BBC Sherlock he doesn't smoke a pipe anymore. It's like oh my nicotine patches, and it's like but I just, I think if the film warrants Trav smoking in there, then they probably should have. She is a smoking hot woman, as Zappy said. This is kind of cool though now when he goes to like the grocery store and sees it's fake. But what's kind of interesting because it is that thing of I almost would assume that like it was like oh it was going to be real and like say they were going to almost subvert it a little bit where some of the stuff King Jong-un said was true and that, but then you go oh no it's fake. It's kind of like also because James Franco's been in the Planet of the Apes movies, also it's almost a Planet of the Apes type ending. It's like, no, you maniacs. I do kind of love like though how you can do stuff 3D with 2D drawings. But like you see all the time, and they kind of freak me out, like these chalk drawings on the street where people have drawn like crevices and big holes and things, and you're like, oh, it's just a drawing. It's kind of cool. I was just keeping one hand to one side like that. That's you know. Big fat American teeth. Even that's quite an interesting. Like most men can't do that with their hands, let alone anything else. So it's like, oh no, he's too long. One thing that is funny though as well, but since like this sort of internet and since like listening to different podcasts, I mean, probably not a very good advert for it, 'cause I'm still pretty stupid, but I've probably learned more about politics, religion, sort of different things like that in the last 2 or 3 years since I have in the rest of my life. Even that bit there though, where like she's hiding on the bed and sort of, I kind of love that, like kind of how this comedy is like so controversial, so sort of modern in lots of ways, and then it's just like there, that's something that literally almost like out of like a Carry On film or On the Buzz. It's like oh, somebody's like hide somebody and you know that they're always doing like that martial arts pose. That's just like the way I feel like people did that in the late 70s, early 80s when nobody knew what martial arts was, or very few people. Another montage. 2 words. Montage. These are really crazy montages. I kind of like that character of Dave Skylark. They're just doing so kind of not in the same reality as everybody else. That's a good line too. I'm good use of music too. I do kind of like the fact though that it's a sign of good confident sort of filmmaking as well when they don't just sort of pick songs that are really, really obvious. Sometimes you think oh, they're gonna pick some, you know, Gangnam Style or something. It's just again on the one it's cliche and stuff. The music that you can have used, but it's at the same time, it's I was expecting Katy Perry songs to be in this film. I think even they used an En Vogue song on the trailer. It's En Vogue. I thought I was the only person in the world that could remember En Vogue. It's a puppy. I believe that was Seth Rogen's dog, from what I can gather. I think the film's dedicated to him at the end of the credits. Oh, the media's been manipulated. like those where like they're just in like CRT TVs and stuff, because like I always just like get such a sort of kick for sort of seeing like older technology, like oh yeah, cool, because it still works, and so they should be shown. Oh, Maher, excellent. He did a really good film as well, Religious. Again, it's like really interesting these last few years that like say, just seeing all these interesting films coming out about like politics and drugs and stuff that people always, you only get that stuff in the BBC, and it's like, since like the internet, since like HBO, The Young Turks, Truth Search, Cult of Dusty, a million different people on the internet. It's really interesting. Steve Shives, all these different people that have done all these really cool MP3s or videos that really do just make you sort of think, and that it's really cool. Oh no, it's all gonna kick off. A fake packet. Again, as well, very few comedy films. I don't know that many people mention these two films in the same breath, but like Police Academy, I always feel like the end of Police Academy really shifts tone in a weird way, like where it's not as always as intense as I do remember it sometimes, but I always feel like it's this really wacky comedy that's got really like juvenile jokes in there. And it's like at the end, it looks like how does Matt get shot and killed and things. It's like what? And it's like with this, so you've got jokes about like is a tiger wearing night vision goggles, and like just crazy party scenes and stuff like that, and like dick jokes and stuff, and then it's just like you know the end of the world and like nuclear missiles and people having their fingers bit off and stuff, and like it's like, what? It's really like interesting when you get changes of tone like that. I should get Mythbusters on that. Could you really bite somebody's finger off? I guess maybe. So the transition's been knocked on their marks. That's pretty funny. And it's like somebody biting somebody's finger off. I know it's done in like a comedy way, but it's really interesting seeing sometimes what doesn't get edited out of movies. I mean, I bet I'd be hard to push to think of three, relatively mainstream comedy films that like. No, sorry, three. I'd be able to push to think of another comedy film where three people's fingers get bit off. I mean, or any film for that matter. Shots him in the foot. Boob's still alive. Little Weapon style. Even this is like, again, not many true words said in a joke, but how many interviews I've seen nowadays where like someone like Piers Morgan on CNN, or just different big interviews now when they interview a certain celebrity, and it always feels like it gets to a certain point in the interview, it's like they really want that person to cry, so they'll be like, they'll mention like their family or somebody dying or something really bad that happened to them, and it's almost like as if it's like cry, 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 and it's like, so this is really, again, a really on the nose observation that I feel like, a lot of people might watch this film and go, oh, it is what it is, and, there's some really ridiculous jokes in there, but at the same time, I feel like when this film, I mean, I enjoy this film all the way through, and I like nearly all of it, really, but, when it's really on the money, it's really on the money. I can't even listen to Katy Perry anymore. I always think as well which way round do they do this stuff in the sense that, like, assumably they have to, like, authorise the song first and then write the script around it, or do they just take a chance and think, yeah, they'll go with it? Get to the end of the film and realise they can't use it. Mind you, I don't think it would have made any difference with this film because it didn't look like it was going to come out anyway. Oh. He obviously loves that song. Oh no. Let's get the fuck out. So about sentence when they used to get the fuck out. There's a Skid Row song called "Get the Fuck Out," and it always makes me laugh when they did that song live in London once, and the lead singer Sebastian Bach read a letter out on stage where it said the song "Get the Fuck Out" cannot be played unless the words are altered, and it's like it kind of ties in perfectly with this film that like this film could not be released unless, or just couldn't be released. That's what they wanted because. Oh no, it's all gone wrong. What is interesting about this as well, because I think James Franco was meant to die in the original cut of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and it looks like he's been killed here. It's like, at first I was like, wow, does James Franco die in every film? And that could be a funny way of doing it, though, that like a lot of actors sometimes have a reputation for dying in every film, but if he had a reputation for looked like he was going to die or filming a scene where he died but then didn't die. Bulletproof vest. Okay, widescreen, not TVs. And that seems like that become a thing. I know I've just noticed that from Napoleon Dynamite, where people put like make a fist and put it under the chin and like. I always like as well when like they show you sort of people from like countries where they're supposed to be like all evil and like there's like people helping out and stuff. It's cool. Oh no. The irony is clearly most unfortunate. They say Americans don't get irony. Actually, does anybody get irony? It's so freaking confusing. Oh, it's a cute dog. I like to say what's really funny about this though as well, because I do and I don't kind of like sometimes when you see like a plant in a movie where you'll see something at the start and it's used later on. It sometimes can be a bit forced or a bit lame, especially when you watch the film 2 or 3 times. But to be fair, there's something kind of cool about. Oh yeah, you have that tack. Even this is a cool sequence that, like, I'm surprised it hasn't been used in some kind of action film where you just see the nuclear missiles coming out of the silos like that. That's kind of, really good visual shot. And and another thing about, like I say, a lot of modern like action films are sometimes really confusingly put together. I think and I like to think I can follow a lot of really fastly paced things, but this is really well. Like you can see, we saw that overhead map of where the helicopters were. We're seeing the visual representation of the missiles, how far they are out the silos, and where things are geographically, like the tank versus the helicopter. Really well put together, really clever. Or clever, I should say. Or it's just good filmmaking. But how many people have been knocked out when them tanks fire and the barrel part comes in? Uh, this is a different artist. This isn't Katy Perry. I can remember seeing on the music section of the credits that it was somebody else. I can't think who it was now, but we'll check when it gets to the credits part. Oh, the credits as they go. Again, this is like a really sort of good effect here that just seeing him it's kind of gross and disgusting like when the 2 guys got killed earlier on, but I always feel as well like they're like, just say I was only filming that, but just say he slipped there, it's like, oh, it's like, whoops, sorry. It's kind of a good ending to it. I mean, it's kind of like, it kind of, as it's kicking into it really, but the way it's like, they got rid of the bad guy, but then they're trying to, like, not fuck up the country completely, and, be really interesting to sort of find out where this exactly was filmed, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's like sort of just around the corner from like where this, you know, you think, oh yeah, it's got that weird foreignness to it in a way. It looks like England or somewhere, but it's probably like half an hour from the studio or something. Oh. Oh, the GPS. It's interesting though, 'cause when they mentioned Obama then, I didn't think they'd probably realise that Obama would actually sort of publicly mention this movie. Always said that he's pretty good for stuff like that. He's like, I saw him in between two films with Zac Galifianakis, is actually his name. Oh, it's really funny when this song come on, because again, like saying, choose songs that like I remember I had this song on white vinyl when it came out in like the 90s. I think the B-side is Lights Out, a live version of it. But I was like, wow, the Scorpions. I was like, wow, I haven't heard the Scorpions for ages. You know, I mean, I know a lot of these rock bands are always still knocking around in one capacity or another. Where it just was just like, I just had like a proper flashback to when I wrote this song. You know. That's an insanely cute dog. Talk about like Barney from Gremlins and stuff like that. That like oh god, it's just two men hugging each other in this dark. What? So it's not all bad as it. I think I did read somewhere. I think somebody mentioned it on somewhere watching Reddit or something. I like that poster, the Dave Skylark poster on the far left. It's the only fake posters look really fake. That one on the very far left looked cool, and the one on the far right as well. But I think somebody said that if they make a film about this, it would be so funny if the film about this film comes out. Yep, yep, Skype in North Korea. The end. And there you go. How many films end with a line like that? Way better film than I was expected to be. And I think a lot of people like. I think it was on Martin movie trailers where they showed the trailer and said, someone said in the description something like, showing you how funny it actually is, and it's really good. It's one of those films where, plus I've said it 10 times during the commentary already, there it was like, they thought it, would just be a controversial film and not much else. Although, like I say, I've enjoyed, the main people's work before, so, but, yeah, I thought it was really, really good movie. First commentary as well for the new website, Legends of Cherry Hill. what a way to kick it off, right? Oh yeah, I always try different sites I've done commentaries for to have like a random crew member if possible. So just in the last few minutes, I just picked one like at random. Amy Kane is the person's name, Foley artist on this movie. Also worked on. So I've just pressed on. Worked on the Poltergeist remake after this. The Kitchen Sink after that. The Wedding Ringer, The Interview, No Good Deeds, Sex Tape, Walk of Shame, Evan is For Real, Masters of Sex, Bonnie and Clyde, Delivery Man, Street Dogs of South Central, Runner Runner, Grown Ups 2, After Earth, Oz the Great and Powerful, That's My Boy, Food Fight, Blood Moon, Ghost Rider Spiritual Vengeance, Jack and Jill, Straw Dogs, Moneyball, Zookeeper, Priest, The Lincoln Lawyer, Eddie You Know, The Big C, Takers, Grown Ups, Justified, This Is It, Zombieland, Taking a Pelham 123, Obsessed, Paul Plot, Mall Cop, Paper Art, Amusement, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, You Don't Mess with the Zoan, Red Belt, Mysteries of Pittsburgh, First Sunday, A Raisin in the Sun, The Great Debaters, The Take, Life Before Our Eyes, Big Love, John from Cincinnati, Stomp the Yard, Seraphim Falls, Deadfall, Rome, Urban Legends, Bloody Mary, Vampires, The Turning, what was that? Teenage Caveman, Life Without Dick, Another Teen Movie, Baby Boy, Rustin, Dancer, Texas Pop 81, Weapons of Mass Destruction, and Multiplicity. And that's just in the sound department category. In the miscellaneous section, it says... loading slow for some reason. Anyway, that was 63 films, and that's probably the most I've ever read for one person. There's the person's name, Amy Kane. Wow, I went that far time to start reading the person's list. That was very serendipitous. I don't know if that's the right use of the word serendipitous, but yeah, I'll take it. Again, there's a lot going on with the score. I mean, again, if you just play this music, I mean, I read a lot of composers who say they make the music so much more believable if it's a comedy film. Just so you go with this Madison Gate Records, like it was. Did I say Watertown Record? I'll have to see if that soundtrack actually got released. Yeah, it should say here who did that other version of Fireworks. Like I say, it wasn't Katy Perry, the sort of slow acoustic version. It was. I like their other things, like Welcome to the Jungle got a credit, even though it was Firework. Jenny Lane, I think that's the acoustic one. And it was cool as well to footage was came from, and thanks. Everything has to get approved. I kind of so if you want more of this stuff, come to sectrex.co.uk and you'll find Legends of Cherry Hill there. Shameless plug for anybody sticking around right till the end of the credits. And if you made it this far, thanks for listening. No animals were harmed. Oh, dedication. Oh, Digby. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you later. Bye.